Tonight I'm going to make good old spaghetti bolognese. This is going to be my interpretation of spaghetti bolognese. So all the Italians, please do not send me any hate mail. Firstly, I'm doing it with vegan mince. Please feel free to substitute meat for this. But you end up with a very similar result, and that is what we're going to do. So ordinarily, with proper meat, I would say you put your meat in. Caramelize the hell out of it, because all those little brown bits that are burning on the bottom of the pan, that is your flavor. So let it come to a high heat, let it caramelize, cook it so that you get those little caramelized bits on it, and then add everything else. I'm going to start with the onion. And I'm using red onion because I've got tiny little white onions and I don't feel like peeling millions of them. So red onion is not traditional, but it'll be fine. It's all about flexibility. And then we're just going to cook this down a little bit. And then I'm going to add the veg mince and then cook that. So I'm doing it in reverse. Normally what I do actually is I cook the vegetable component separately from the meat. So I'll do the meat and then I will fry off the onions, the garlic, the grated carrots and the celery. And I like mushrooms in my spag bowl, so that is something that I add, which isn't, I don't think, very traditional. But it all ends up, rounding out the flavors, and it's all personal preference at the end of the day. So we're not trying to be absolutely geographically and regionally correct, because Italian food is very regionally specific. We're just going to do lockdown bolognese, family meal, in the most tasty, easy way possible for everybody. Most people will have all of these ingredients in their house. Okay, so we've got a nice little translucent thing happening with the onions. So this is vegan mince. Looks pretty much like the real thing, and let me tell you, I have made lasagna and bolognese countless times for my very carnivorous friends who have never known the difference. And when I've told them that it is not mince, they are gobsmacked. Most vegans don't want something that has the texture of meat, so they will happily have just vegetables or lentils. I'm doing this because I want the kind of vibe of spaghetti bolognese. I like the texture of meat. I just don't want to eat meat really anymore. So I'm just going to give this a little fry off. And then I'm going to add the rest of those veggies. Oh, the other thing is, normally I use copious quantities of red wine in my meat sauce. Lockdown in South Africa, that doesn't happen because we do not waste our very precious resources on cooking. So I will use some red wine vinegar, which I use anyway because it kind of sweetens it almost. It gives a beautiful something to the dish. Although it's an acid, it makes it sweeter and it gives the right balance. So I do add that ordinarily, but that will have to suffice at the moment. So even this is a non-meat product, I still want to get as much caramelization on it as possible because that is always the flavor. All these bland, anemic looking things, they don't carry much flavor. So we want, even though this is sort of sticking a little bit because it's not a meat product, I'm going to force the issue and insist that it caramelizes a little bit so that I do get a little bit of that flavor. At this stage I'm going to add the garlic and the celery. So I add finely chopped celery, grated carrots and mushrooms to my spaghetti bolognese. So that goes in. Give it a little bit of a fry, and then I'm going to add the mushrooms. So I'm still frying it on high at this point, because I want to get that beautiful stuff on the bottom, which I'm going to deglaze the pan and lift that off so that that becomes part of the sauce. Then I'm going to add the carrots. So I've got one big stem of celery, I've got one medium-sized carrot, and I've got probably half a punnet of mushrooms. I've got 3 big cloves of garlic in here, and I've got what would be a normal sort of size punnet of mince. Okay, so now I've got tomato paste. Tomato paste, when it's not cooked out, is not a pleasant experience really. So I'm going to add the tomato paste and cook that out a little bit. And then I'm going to add a little bit of water, because I'm not using wine, to lift those flavors off the bottom of the pan. So let this fry off a little bit. Okay, so this has had a few minutes of frying. I'm now going to add a little bit of water just to lift all those bits that are stuck on the bottom. And please don't look at the outside of my pan, it looks shocking, but the inside is still good. This stage I'm going to add a little bit of red wine vinegar. Gives the acid and a little bit of the red wine flavour. So probably about a tablespoon. And then I'm going to turn this down now. And I like a little bit of crushed chilli and everything. Doesn't always give you heat, but it gives you something. Oregano and some Italian herb. Okay, this is now looking really good. It's going to need to cook down. Now I'm going to add the tinned tomatoes. And you always have to clean out your tin with a little bit of water. And then I'm going to add a little bit of salt and pepper, and then let this simmer away, and then eventually taste test it. You season your food properly. Use good quality salt. The one without iodated, see how it runs and all that rubbish. That's what clogs up your arteries, not proper salt. That doesn't clog up your arteries. But it is a really important part of flavoring food. Even people who don't like salt, if you use really good quality salt, you don't have to use a lot of it. If that's not your thing, but you do need to use salt to bring out the flavor of food. So now I'm going to put a lid on this and let it simmer away for a while, and then it breaks down and becomes this beautiful sauce. In the meantime, I'm just going to get pasta water on to boil. This is my kosher salt, which I use to season water. A decent amount of salt for pasta, and then that's going to go on. So I'm putting the pasta in, And the sauce is coming along really nicely. So we're just going to put the pasta into boil. I'll show you what the sauce looks like. It's been cooking away nicely. When the pasta is cooked, I'm going to add the pasta to this. I'm going to add the parsley. I couldn't get any Italian parsley, but a lovely hit of fresh parsley is going to go in now. And then we will add the pasta when it is cooked. Bring this to a rapid boil. And keep it al dente. I like to undercook it a little bit because I typically add my pasta to the sauce and let it continue cooking in there. Then it absorbs a little bit of the sauce and it is good. This sauce I've cooked a lot less time than you would a meat sauce. Obviously because it's veggie mince, it doesn't require the same amount of time cooking. But the length of the time is still important for those flavors to meet each other and become friends and, you know, gel and all the rest of it. So it is good, but you can't overcook veggie mince because it will disintegrate into nothingness. And these veggies and everything that are inside the sauce have come together nicely. So this pasta is almost done. So I'm going to now drain it and add it to that. Pasta's going in. And a little bit of pasta water that's there. I'm just going to mix this all together. Use my pasta spoon, although it's metal. Okay, this is ready, so I'm going to serve a bowl. Then some grana padano or parmesan if you're so lucky. And voila, beautiful. Buon appetito!